Welcome to session 3 of the mindfulness course. We're going to talk about several different things, but we're going to start with observation. And I wanted to talk about how we feel inside ourselves and why it's important to observe it. So because internally quite a lot of us feel unworthy or inadequate, we end up becoming people pleasers. And this is to help us feel loved or likable. We put on like this happy face, we ignore how we're really feeling inside. But the more you practice living in a mindful way, the more you will become aligned with the true you. As you observe your thoughts, notice if there is any judgment and bring them back to the feeling only, then you will begin to process and let go of the feelings as they arise. What you're doing here is you're learning to observe your thoughts and your feelings without forcing yourself to be someone that you're not. This is unfortunately something that a lot of us do. We try to be something we're not, or we try to be people pleasers, or we say yes when we really want to say no. And then we become really unhappy with it because we are not aligned with our true self. And the more we look inside ourselves and ask our true motivation, the happier we become. And it's very important to do this. I'm going to talk now about living in the present, just briefly. So living in the present is one of the most important aspects of mindfulness. The concept of bringing yourself into the present moment is one of the underpinning concepts of mindfulness. And the modern mindset was first described in a book called The Power of Now. If you've not read it, it's worth reading. It is a little bit hard going, but you can get it on Audible if you prefer to listen to it. It's by Eckhart Tolle, who is a leading mindfulness speaker and writer. And his book centers on the idea of keeping your attention in the present moment. And he summarizes it as being in the present at any given moment as much as possible. So I'm going to talk about the butterfly mind. Now, you will all understand this when I talk about the butterfly mind. So the human mind is like a butterfly, and it flits about from one thought to another, visiting different flowers, never staying too long on anyone, and it may choose to spend time in the past or the future, but very seldom is it fully present or still in one place. This means that our thoughts are often scattered. And as though itself, it's energy, and this means that our energy is not focused and not fully present. This is why living in the moment is so powerful. Once you apply yourself to only doing what you are focusing on now, rather than letting your thoughts run away with you, you become really focused, much less anxious, and much less fearful. So when you live in the moment, anxious thoughts tend to disappear. This is because you are focused and in the moment. You don't need to think. It becomes easier to focus only on the task in hand without the need to think. So the act of being present actually helps with the awareness and non-judgment, as well as reducing the habit of overthinking. No matter how much stress or obsess about the past or future, you can't change either one. It is in the present moment now that your power lies. So another advantage of being in the present moment is that it seems to disappear, or it becomes unimportant. So think about the last time you were really engrossed in something that you were doing, either at work, or maybe you're doing something that you really enjoyed, which took all of your attention. You probably also remember that time seemed to fly. And that time itself was completely irrelevant. That's what living in the present does. It brings you into a mindful space where you only focus on where you are now, emotionally and physically. So it stops you from thinking about the past, thinking about the future. You are only doing what you are doing now. And that is a really fun thing to do. So this is the all-important thing, how to catch the butterfly. This is the moment you've been waiting for. So I'm going to take the butterfly metaphor further. So you could liken observing your thoughts and living in the present to netting a butterfly. So the next time you are aware that your thoughts are taking you away from the present moment, whether it is a worry about the future or reflecting on the past, imagine yourself with a huge net, and you catch that thought and bring it back to the present moment. And once you're back into the moment, allow the butterfly to fly away and let that thought go completely. If the thought is has a planning or strategy in it, and you need it and you know you need it, then of course you can act on it or write it down before you let it go. But generally, most of these thoughts are probably unhelpful. They're probably thoughts about the past or the future that you don't really need. Just let them go. You know, just let them go. There are many other ways to do this. You can flick it away. I have one of my personal favourites is I imagine that I've got a big hand in my head and I'm just going like that to the thoughts. When they come, flick, 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 to get rid of them. And that works for me, but everybody finds their own way of their own sort of mental metaphor, whether it be a big sweeping brush to brush it out of their mind, whatever, or the net, whatever works for you. So I'm going to talk about negative reinforcement, because this is quite important to understand. So before we practice being in the now by using an exercise, it's worth talking about negative reinforcement. So this is when we constantly revisit past events. This is the ego needing to be right. So part of the reason we revisit the past is to reinforce that we were right in any situation. Often when we revisit events where we feel we were maybe treated unjustly or something bad has happened that was out of our control, and what we're doing is we're negatively reinforcing how bad the event or the person was. This is something most of us do. We do it unconsciously. We slip back into something that we may have visited many, many times before, but we just end up feeling frustrated because it's a past event and we can't change what happened. All we're doing here is we're bringing that past feeling back into our present moment. So it's a pointless exercise, and we're doing it repetitively. And as we're doing it repetitively, we'll definitely keep bringing those feelings from the past alive into our present consciousness, and that is not helpful and it's not healthy. And one of the other reasons that we revisit the past is to try and gain an understanding of why. For example, if someone had bullied you at school and it was still playing up on your mind and you kept thinking about it, why me, why me, you know, you're never going to understand why. You can't be in the other person's head. You can't understand their reasons or their issues for doing it. There is no point going back to asking why. There's no point revisiting that. You know, it's okay to revisit every so often. When I say every so often, I mean very rarely. You know, all you end up doing when you keep revisiting is you end up feeling like a victim because you can't fully digest what happened. When you can't fully accept something like that, you will never feel at peace with it. So what you need to do is to let it go. So a mindful way to deal with this is to accept what it is. So it's important to try to understand and revisit the event sometimes, but when we come to a point where there is no understanding and we know we have to let it go and accept that it is what it is, it does feel like it's against human nature to do this, because we have this inherent need to understand and to be right. But the mindful approach would say, it doesn't really matter who's right or wrong. I don't need to understand this. I just need to let it go. And once we develop a habit of doing this, we gradually build up like a philosophical and accepting mindset where we don't need to fully understand everything before we allow ourselves to let it go. And this is a really liberating thing to do. So I'm going to go through the Power of Now exercise. So this is a short exercise that will help you understand the concept further and to put it into practice. So I'm going to read it through to you, but this is also in the workbook so that you can read through it and do this yourself at another time. So what you would do is you would sit comfortably, close your eyes and breathe in and out deeply 3 or 4 times. Now intentionally bring your attention inwards so that all your awareness is within you, and make a mental note of the tension points within your body. You know, think about the parts of your body where you have any pain or discomfort, or where the muscles are noticeably tense. Once you've spent a little bit of time doing this, you will start to feel focused and centered, and then begin to focus only on this moment as you sit there. Now, as thoughts of the past or future arise, and they will, intentionally let each one go. So just imagine you're flicking them away with your hand. Keep doing this until they slow down or they're not there at all. Then afterwards, you would open your eyes and keeping that focus. So if any thoughts are coming to you, still carry on flicking them away. Then try to do a simple 5-minute task like washing up or hoovering or taking a shower. And as you do this simple thing, keep focus only on what you were doing and nothing else. What you'll find is that your mind wants to take you out of this time zone. Don't let it, just be in the moment. Keep netting the butterfly or flicking away those thoughts and come back to the task at hand. While in this moment, things will happen. You might trip over, you might see someone doing something they shouldn't while you walk, you might get soap in your eyes in the shower, your hands may wrinkle. There is always something negative to focus on if you choose to. And of course, it's human nature to do this, but for these moments, observe only. Don't judge the negative things, just let them be. Just see them and let them pass you by. Do not judge. Once you finish this task, you will feel peaceful, and you will notice that it had like a timeless quality to it. There will be less tension in your body, and the usual thought patterns that you've had your whole lifetime feel different. And once you've done this, it's a good idea to make some notes or journal how you felt, during the exercise and after. And because you will notice a marked difference to that. Now, I'm just going to quickly recap, going back to the description of mindfulness, just to go over it. So, mindfulness gives you focused thought. It's about being present in the moment. It's about coming from a place of non-judgment, being selfless, and being able to let go of what you can't control.